what it is, Pod Squad. Thank you for listening and watching and consuming the content. Please like, subscribe, so I can catch up to Marvin Joles. That's all I'm trying to do.
I'm taking it easy. You should have plenty of time now.
I just
And not only that, you had a great launch pad to catch me.
just when I thought, like, we get compliments on the background. They're like, oh, look, you got like an actual studio background. And it's because it's just like Dollarama foamies at this community art studio. And then Marvin shows up with like the most gangster. What is that behind you?
That's interdimension. You ever seen Interstellar? I'm pretty sure I'm on the other side of there. Like, oh, you never seen that movie?
I'm a loser. I don't watch movies. I'm such a loser.
You should watch that one. I bet you would
Okay.
like it. You're an
Okay.
intellect, so I bet you would like that one. But yeah, anyways, I'm just saying that to say that it's futuristic and interdimensional, but it's just plastic prisms or polygons or something.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't tell anyone it's plastic. I'd be like, this is like crystallite that was mined from the depths of Uganda or something. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. What's that? Eli was watching Black Panther, whatever, adamantium or some type of crazy alloy from outer space. That's probably what it is.
I like it. Big fan. Well, this podcast is off to the start I thought it would be because it's the coolest guy ever. It's Marvin Joles, so it needs no introduction. We go back and forth all the time. The world knows. So it's so funny. You texted me 10 minutes before we hit record, and you said, and I quote, "Don't pull any punches on this one. Ask the tough questions." And I was like, that's exactly what I was thinking too. Because like, what's the point? I'm not going to make like a structured interview for you.
Yeah. I'm recording a lot of podcasts lately, which is surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Writing a lot of articles, posting quite a bit. Really kind of, when I did BB, uh, really was myself, but also did a lot of the dance too. Making sure that I pleased a lot of people and made sure that everything was really wholesome and consumable and entertaining and whatnot. And I think after I kind of took that break, I was just like, hey, time is of the essence. Why not just talk about the stuff that is important, stuff that I want to talk about, be all natural and let it flow and do its thing. And I think I live a unique life. I've lived a unique life so far. I think I'm still living a unique life. So why not share that and why not let people ask the questions that they want to ask? I don't have anything to hide. So if it helps, and it sounds like it is helping our industry by sharing and talking about whatever, anything, why not do that? So that's what
Well,
we do.
I'm going to start poking, right? Like you told me to do this. I'm going to start poking at something you just said right off the bat. A lot of contractors don't like posting on social media because they're like, I don't know what to say. It feels fake, blah, blah, blah. You know, all the stuff. Now, I know this is not what you just said, but the way you said it made it sound like the work that you were doing in content with Blacktop Banter is not the same as what you're doing now. Almost, I know you didn't say this, but it sounded like almost like the work you were doing with Blacktop Banter back then was almost like, I can't think of the word, Marv, like not obligatory, but like not that it's not the same as what you're doing now. What's the difference? Just explain it to me.
Yeah. So I think that originally when I started BB, the content was natural, right? It was just conversation. No one was listening. So it was literally just me talking to my buddies about what we do, right? And that was great. And then once sponsors started to get involved, small scale sponsors, it really wasn't a thing. Once it started to get large scale and they had marketing campaigns and they wanted me to be able to fit in with those marketing campaigns, we were able to do that. But it also inadvertently made me start being different in my content, whether that was the podcast episodes, and it wasn't for a bad thing, Cam. Uh it was just different. It wasn't what I was doing was creating content for the whole industry, the sponsors and everything, so that we could get sponsors to jump on board. And that's far different than me creating content and then sponsors wanting to jump on board. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
Right. So yes, they supported me, but they supported me because I created content for them that they could be part of, and I created a service that allowed them access to my audience versus creating content for the audience that allowed the audience to have access to the sponsors.
Did this like alter your worldview a little bit of like, I don't want to say like capitalism or anything like that, but like
It really wasn't that. It was, to be honest with you, and I talk about it a little bit. It was, I'm a real people pleaser. I think I always have been. I think it came from really early on. My parents had me really young, and I was adopted by my grandmother. So for a while there, um, and I grew up really poor, so I really wasn't accepted all that great in elementary school, middle school. Darker skin compared to most kids around where I grew up. So I think there was always a thing of like wanting to fit in and wanting to be accepted and wanting to fit in. And I feel like really easily with the podcast world, when you got a sponsor, you're like, oh, people like, they like me. Oh, this is great. But I'm going to fit in. And now we're this successful thing or whatever. And I think it just didn't, over time, it was great and it created great things. And I love those partners and we still have some of those partners. But I really went away from myself and I found myself during that process and it was really hard because there was a dichotomy because even though I was finding myself during all of that I wasn't really allowed to be myself during that because I had already made uh obligations to sponsors, listeners, expectations, partners, right? Even the shows. We did a huge, the conference kickoff at San Antonio Pavex was like the capstone. We were all like, holy crap, dude, how did we do this? Right. But when that was over, that week of Pavex, I really didn't want to let my friends down. And I didn't let Jessica and Amy and the rest of that team down and all of us, right? At BB, yourself, and all of our friends in the industry. But I was spent. I was really, really spent. I put a lot of stress and anxiety on myself to make sure that I delivered. And I don't even know that anybody really cared all that much, but I cared a lot because of my image and what I'd done.
Mm.
And I knew kind of from that point on that something had to give or something had to change. And it did. And eventually, I kept going that way without changing anything until I was like physically forced to like, okay, we got to stop doing this and figure out how to reassess and readdress. And I really wasn't sure if I'd be recording again ever, to be honest with you. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do interviews, wasn't sure if I wanted to write. I had, and I think I said this in the podcast, but I actually had like cognitive inabilities happen after like July of last year. I think I called you, right? And I was like, hey, man, something is up. I don't know what to say, how to do it or explain it. But I remember my wonderful partner, longtime partner, Titan Paint Sprayers, came down to record a YouTube session, right? Of like the expert line striper, which is not me, but I'm the best one that Titan's got in their repertoire. Um, and it was so wild because they would read me a line and I couldn't repeat the line back to them. And dude,
That was like nothing for you. Yeah.
that was nothing. So something would definitely was wrong cognitively. And I remember talking to my team and just being like, something is up. I'm not gonna be able to keep going forward if I can't figure it out. The only thing that saved me, I think, was the fact that Wiscoat, I had been smart enough to listen to our mentors that were like, develop a system and process. And that system and process probably saved my ass because it allowed Wisco to keep churning out work. All I had to do was show up, quote the job, send the quote, go do the work, and come back. Kyla took care of everything else in between. The crew leaders took care of everything else in between. That
Hmm.
probably saved me. The other thing that saved me is I batched a shite ton of podcasts that winter,
Yeah.
and Chris was able to produce them and carry them over to finish out our contract terms with our partners. I literally landed that plane cam of the partnership and contract terms with one wing, fuel leaking out the back,
No rubber on the
no
tires.
rubber on tires. Like I
Yeah.
skidded it in sideways, man. And
Oh, man.
um, it's just crazy. It's crazy to look back and think about, and thankfully I learned a lot from that and some things have changed and I've had great support since then that has allowed me to kind of saddle up a little bit again. But I'm not trying to ride the 8 second bull. I'm just kind of doing some barrel racing now, man, in the road. I'm taking it easy.
Would you do it different?
Yeah, man, I would. Here's the thing. Believe it or not, we're not all designed the same. I know, and some great entrepreneurs that run some businesses that I don't know that I would have the capability of handling. They're made for it. And what they take on, how they delegate, what they do, they're made for it and they love it. I'm just not that. I'm not that. And I would much rather do what I do best and enjoy it. And whatever it produces on the fringes, it produces on the fringes. That didn't happen with BB. I focused on those fringes and I wanted to blow those up, right? And make those happen. And it caused me to really dedicate a lot of my time, effort, and energy to these things because there isn't exactly people around me that can pull this off. And it's not like I can sub somebody in and say, hey, go record the podcast. Hey, come up with the creative ideas from the contractor angle about how to do this Dynapack ad.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to happen. It had to be me. And in the meantime, doing sales for the business, training, right? And then in the midst of getting a divorce, a new relationship, figuring out how to be a dad in the midst of all that, it was just way too much. And some guys are great at it. Some guys aren't. Some guys figure it out. And I think I figured it out. The problem was is I didn't have time to reassess. You and I have always talked a lot about break it back down, build it back up. Break it back down and build it back up. I didn't have time to do that. I couldn't do that. We were in the midst of running the train. You can't, I couldn't fix it, right? Or rebuild it as it was going or put it on a different track. So I just had to cook as long as I could. And unfortunately, the fuel was me and my physical state, my mental state, all that.
Ugh. Is there one, like, I don't want you to name names by any means. That's not the point of this question, but was there any specific interactions you had trying to land that stinking plane with one wing on fire with no rubber on the tires where it's like it got ugly?
Not really. No, I think it was
Really?
a cumulative thing. Yeah. I think, do you remember? So
Mm.
when we did the Blacktop Banner Success Group, I was very expressive about how much it meant to me that you guys took one night. Each of you took, like you, Kyle, and Harem, each took one night a month off of my plate for those calls. And I can't even express the amount of relief that that was.
Mm.
So if that tells you how pushed to the brink I was, that you guys relieving me of 3 hours in 1 month was like my breath of fresh air. I was pushed pretty hard, man. And I had a lot of responsibility, and more than what I thought. And did I need to take on that much responsibility? Is that just something that I pictured? Possibly. Was it really that important? Maybe not. But to me, in my mind, it was. And there's not really anything anybody could do to divert that, right? So the best thing I did was last August, I started using BetterHelp therapy, right? And I was completely like, dude, this is BS, ain't gonna work. I'm blue collar, of course, got callous hands still here. Whatever. Why is this gonna work? I can just talk to my homies and then it'll help me out. And it totally wasn't the case. After the first one, I was like, this is bogus. It's not going to work. After 2 months, I was like, I feel better for some reason.
Mm.
And then after 4, 5, 6 months, I was like, yeah, I should have been doing this probably 10 years ago
Mm.
before. I should have been doing preventative maintenance. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, kudos to you because you have not held back at all from, specifically prioritizing health over brand or company or everything else. Where does that leave you today? Like I feel like it's going to sound weird. I feel like I'm close to you in the sense that like I watch you, I follow you, I know where you are. But I also like, sometimes I feel like I almost can't keep up. Like you're doing cool things, innovative things. You're mixed up with all sorts of cool people. What are you doing now?
Yeah, man. So really what's great, right, is if I could go back and rebuild Wiscoat, I probably would. Right. Wisco for thank heavens shuts down for 4 or 5 months, and I'm kind of able to rebuild a little bit. Right. So that helps out. I don't do snow. Sorry, bro. Uh, I don't do snow. So it gives me some time. Um, and I was able to do that kind of on the media side. And I knew that when I was like the first one and was going to be going forward, that I was going to be the one to hit the stumbling blocks to find out all the mistakes, all the bad stuff, but I was also going to be the first one to find the good stuff. And I've been really fortunate to be able to share what has been great along the way. And I've also shared what's been bad along the way. So now knowing like how I would redo it, when I think about Wiscoat and how I would rebuild it, I thought about that in the sense of the media side. And rather than it be Blacktop Banter, LLC, or business or whatever it was, this time around it's just me. It's Marvin Joles, LLC. And I really focused on stuff that was me, like speaking. writing the articles I want to write, doing the podcast interviews in the way that I want to do them, not the ones that I'm taking, but the ones I'm also giving, right, as well. And what happened was I talked with Dr. Vince Hayfully, who I'd heard speak 4 or 5 times, ironically, and I believe in serendipity and I believe in uh, the way the universe and the creator works of just putting people in your lap that are in your life and supposed to be in your life. And listened to Dr. Vince 3 or 4 times. I had listened to Dr. Erin Cross speak. We had her on the podcast. She spoke at the BBSG sometimes. And all of a sudden, I was like, why am I so interested in this? And it started to kind of weigh in on me that maybe something was going on, and maybe there's something going on with me that these people are interesting me to me, and their stories are interesting to me. And when the mental health subject started to come into play a little bit, it really got important to me, not only because it had been affecting me, but I could then see the signs and the pieces by being around the people who were speaking about it that my friends were probably dealing with this as well. And a large number of them were dealing with it as well. So it became really important to me. And I really had just focused and I got curious, just super curious about this. Started talking to Dr. Vince a lot, started talking to Dr. Aaron, started talking to my Dr. Sapp, who's my therapist with BetterHelp. And uh, pretty soon I was like, I want to ask these questions. I want to know if they're struggling the way that I struggle, how different people struggle, what they're struggling with, what's going on. And I'm aware enough to know that I can kind of tell. Like if all it takes is a couple of questions, you can tell if somebody's dealing with something or not dealing with something or whatever. You know, if somebody walks into your office, right? Let's just say Brian. I hope you don't have anybody named Brian over that laser. But Brian walks in, you know, his shoulders are shrugged. He's like,
Yeah.
and you're like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" They're like, "Nothing. You good?" "Yeah, I'm good."
Yeah.
"Okay."
Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity.
Right. So
Yeah.
first, Brian's not good. Everything's not okay. Um, but that's hard to talk about. We don't do that in our industry. So I knew that I was in a position of, first of all, people would love to talk to Marvin on a podcast or on an interview. And I knew that people trust me, right, at this point to do everything that I should do responsibly if I'm going to ask them for some personal insight and information. So I reached out to about 10 people and was like, hey, I want to do research for a short book or a series of articles and posts about mental health in the asphalt industry. I started with Dr. Vince, started talking to Dr. Aaron, and then I started reaching out and asking to people that we know. And you're going to see these podcasts come out over the next 6 months or so. And it's people that like we know, and they share stories that get them crying and that get them thinking about things they hadn't thought before and answering questions that I'm sure they wouldn't answer in any other setting. And you come to find out that we're all dealing with a lot of this stuff. It's very prevalent. We're not enjoying the aspects of our lives in the way that we should. So, what do we do about this? And thankfully, I've been working now hand in hand with Dr. Vince and Aaron, Dr. Aaron Craw. We've developed a survey through Fairfield University that I've been widely promoting, and they're putting together data and information about our industry in a way that gives us a foundation to understand what we're thinking, what we're feeling, how we cope, what kind of thoughts we have, what triggers these thoughts, and all these things. And then Dr. Vince and I are going to go ahead and analyze this. I'm going to recount some of the podcast episodes in what we're hoping is going to be a book at some point. But that's kind of how it got started, man. And then next thing I know, we go from 10 to 20 episodes. And then all of a sudden, I get interested again in some contractors that I see on LinkedIn. So I started being like, hey, will you just do a podcast with me? Because I'm curious about your journey. So I started asking that. And then we go to World of Asphalt, which was great. We're so thankful World of Asphalt stuck with us and partnered with us again. But I got there and I seen some technology. Sakai had a awesome piece of tech called Guardman technology, where it's impossible for you to run over somebody or have a workplace accident with a
Is there?
roller.
Did they like test it with somebody there?
Yeah, yeah. So they would test it there. Yeah, like with dummies.
Okay, thank goodness. Not like, hey, and here's Marvin. And Marvin's
Yeah, but yeah. Here's a dummy. Run over this guy. Uh, Yeah, yeah. So I was like, will you guys do a podcast? I'm very curious about this and I want to get it down. So we're not completely on strictly mental health or the industry, but we're definitely focused on what I'm interested in and what I would think our industry as a whole would be interested in. I never really trusted myself to say whatever Marvin's interested in, what he wants to talk about, the industry and a large percentage wants to hear. I always figured I had to kind of put myself in my industry's shoes to see what would be interesting to them. And that worked somewhat, but now I'm just kind of like, I want to know. Some things are super urgent and very important. And I've been really, really fortunate as of late to work with NAPA, which is the National Asphalt Pavement Association. And we've been talking about this topic. We've been talking about tech, right? Social media, how to use it well. Social media can be stressful in itself. So I've been working with them. I'm going to be speaking at the Impact Conference coming up in Savannah, Georgia. And we're speaking strictly on developing relationships through social media and then leveraging them and leveling them up in a way that's positive. Um, I think it's important. I think all those aspects are important as we come together. And that's where I'm sitting, man. So we're doing the In the Mix podcast, which is ironically goes hand in hand with the article in APE. And we've had some great sponsors jump on, ones that I'm really excited about and stuff that I use and I use regularly. And things that ease the stress and anxiety of being a business owner. I'm really adapting to tech as much as I don't like to. I am, and software and stuff. So we're sticking with that. Eli's in Nashville wrestling, looking for a state championship. He's going to school there. He's at a pep rally tonight. Nikki is doing her thing at BuildWit. Elizabeth starts school here in Wisconsin pretty soon. So I'm back and forth between the two places. Quoted some work down in Nashville, which is very interesting. That's a completely different ballpark, my guy. No crack filling is like trying to pull teeth down there. So that's interesting dynamic. The asphalt looks a lot different. The people speak a lot more different down there than they do up here. And you kind of figure your feet. So it's an interesting time to be me. I'm just really thankful I have a really great support system, and I've rebuilt this with a system and process that takes a lot of pressure off of me.
Brilliant. Well, for what it's worth, when I first asked the question, that was the biggest smile I've seen on your face, and like, what are you doing now? And you just, yeah, there it is. You just got the big smile on your face.
Yeah, we're having fun.
I I have a question. I'm gonna have to try and get it out. I know what I want to ask, but I don't want to preface it. But maybe I will. I think I will preface it to kind of get it out. Where, so I love business. I love business. It's like a hobby to me, truthfully. Like I hate having to fill out on a form like, "Hey, what are your hobbies?" I'm like, my kids. Like that's my hobby. So one of the things that I hear a lot in a business podcast or a book is like, well, you got to fail. You got to fail a lot. And broadly speaking, I'm comfortable with that idea. I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek, and he talks a lot about you need to fail. But I also have heard a lot of the successful entrepreneurs and business owners that I like to listen to have basically like say, oh yeah, I've been through like 13 business failures. I'm like, man, to me, so I'm just literally, I have no problem admitting it. I'm just being blissfully naive over here because I'm like, well, oh yeah, I'm wearing the shirt. So like this pavement company used to be called Laser Line Painting. Like that's really like technically it's my first like real business. I did goofy stuff before, but like, and now that it's gotten as big as it has, I'm kind of like, I don't know how I would handle it if it failed. Like if it went bankrupt tomorrow, and business is never a guarantee. So like, dude, anything can happen. If my business went up tomorrow, I think because I hadn't been through those 13 failures that, you know, Elon Musk and Alex Hormozy went through, it kind of leaves me a little bit exposed a little bit. And I'm like, I think I'd be okay. It's not like my identity is tied to the business, but I do worry about like, I'd have to kind of reset. Now, when I look at you going through as much as you have and thankfully talking about it and being open about it, thank goodness for that. Have you had any sort of like crisis, or are you just totally at peace with this? Like, dude, this is just part of where I'm going. Like,
Crisis with what? With BB?
seeing something that, put it this way, when man, I'll never forget, I was on my couch at my old house when you phoned me about this blacktop banner thing. It was one of the many like hour-long phone calls we've had, and I'm listening and I'm going like, dude, I remember telling you like I couldn't do what you're thinking of, but I want to support it. Like and now I'm guessing that has shifted in some way. It's not probably not the same as what you told me on my couch 4 years ago. So like, is it hard to go through that big of a change?
So I'll tell you what it's relatable to. Um, so my relationship with my ex-wife, Kelly, I probably held on to that way too long, right? I, I didn't know it, but I was keeping myself from Nikki or somebody like Nikki, right? And that's nothing against Kelly. It's just that it didn't fit either of us anymore, but I was hanging on to it because this is this thing that I had invested in. I was passionate about it. I loved it, right? Her and I, this relationship, our family, and all this thing, this thing, and I really felt like that about BB too, because it was the first of its kind. I had created it. It was this awesome thing, and I probably was holding on to it too tightly and too long. And here's the thing, when we're in the midst of it, same thing as my relationship, you really don't understand that you can leap to the next step. You know, it's like you feel like you're sinking, but you're like, well, I gotta like jump from here if I'm gonna land somewhere else. The thing is, if you don't jump, you're not landing anywhere. You're going to sink. You're literally going to sink. I put out a piece of content yesterday from the In the Mix podcast with Michael Bowman. I did, and I had a revelation in there of these three things. One of which are the three positions that you can go. If this is happening in the midst of it, these are the three things you can do. One, you can sit there and just let it stack up and pile up and run you slap over, right? You're cooked. The second thing is you can, or well, the first one is the worst one,
Mm.
right? Like it runs you over, it kills you, and you're cooked. The second one is that you have to figure out how to delegate, right? Figure out how we're going to move, what we're going to do. We can hang on, we can adjust, we can do whatever. It doesn't look like it used to. I have to be compromised somehow with this, right? Maybe I can't run 4 podcasts a month. I gotta go to two. I have to downsize, do whatever. And then you're sitting in this thing, in this wallowing of feeling like you're less than what you're capable of, or you look at yourself and self-reflect that you don't have what it takes. Or the third one is you figure out through mentorship or through guidance or through counseling of what you do now. And that means taking a completely transparent look at every single thing and being very honest. And honestly, when I looked at BB, I was like, I can't dial it back. I'm going to feel awful if I do. And I don't really want to do that anymore. I don't want the expectation of the content that I deliver now to be stuck there. So I'm just going to bail. And I bail and I just bailed. And it stings a little bit because I let go of this. It was awesome, dude.
But if I understand what you're saying correctly, though, like you didn't do number one, or did you? To you came close. You came close, though,
Yeah, I
didn't
was
you?
going to hang on to that thing. And literally, it was when it physically became a detriment. I was like, yeah, we can't do this. So then I was like, well, I'm left with two options. I either figure out a lesser version of whatever this is, which I just hated.
Why?
I hated that idea of that.
Why?
Just because I feel like I would much rather call it quits and jump into the next thing than to feel like I'm going 50%, right? Like I'm half-assing it. There's on our floors like don't half-ass it.
What does that mean, though? Does that mean that you? Because I remember the call on my couch in wintertime, dude. It doesn't feel like that long ago, and then all of a sudden it was like bang, it was there. Does that mean that it took off like too fast? What does it mean?
I just think that there's a book called Boundaries, right? Where you have to. I can't remember who writes it or
Okay.
who wrote the book, but I listened to it and I should have listened to it a lot more
Hmm.
because I had a friend that gave me the book and was like, you need to start learning to say no to some things, right? And I couldn't, but I also knew that when I was in it with BB, I was feeling like no one else knew what I was going through. right? Like there's no way because no one was doing what I was doing with BB, and no one was trying to do what I was trying to do with my businesses and everything. So I would almost would get stagnant and stuff would pile up, right? And it was brutal. Like I said, it would flatten me. The number two thing, actually, the number two thing is to find a way to release the stress and anxiety, which is alcohol or an addiction or some type of whatever. And then the third one, of course, is to find counsel, right? And figure out those are the three ways of whatever you are in, those are the three ways you're going to deal with it. And my way that I used to deal with all this stuff is I would outwork my ignorance. When it came to Wiscoat, like I would just completely outwork my failures to where we had enough money stacked up that I could be stupid
Brute force.
and we'd be okay. But I couldn't keep that up. I'd been doing that for 20 years, 15 years, right? And I never got we unfortunately, Cam, we are in an environment with the people that we kind of look up to and that are around us where it's 10x baby, wide open, all out. So I was always like, soon as I got more room and gained some ground, I filled that room back up with something. We're doing something. We're going to do this or we're doing that. Let's do it. And it was completely the wrong way for how I was designed. I had no time to do anything. I used to hunt, I used to fish, I used to race four-wheelers, I used to do all these things. The only time I had any type of that time was with Eli or Liz. And then when Nikki and I started dating, I was spending quite a bit of time there and stuff would pile up here. And I was like, something has to give somewhere. Like something has to give somewhere. There's only so much of me to go around. And I'm not keeping any for myself, to be honest with you. And it's just not, that's not healthy. That's not a healthy thing to do. It's funny for me to look back. I smile saying that, but it's just so simple for me to say that to myself now, knowing that the cognitive behavioral therapy that I went through with Dr. Sapp and have went through, it just sounds so stupid, man. It just sounds so stupid for me to do that. I wouldn't advise my friends to do that. There's no way I would advise my friends to go all out and save no time for yourself because we want to succeed. It's ridiculous. It's preposterous to think about. Right now, I'm like, dude, make sure you have enough time with your family and your friends. Like, what are you doing? Do we you we I have enough knowledge, know-how, business acumen to know that I'm never going to be poor. I'm never going to want for anything. Why the hell am I spending all of my time and all of my days chasing money that I know I can just make anywhere, anytime? I have enough business acumen and enough hustle to be able to do that.
Do you see that happening? Do you see that problem happening a lot in asphalt?
Yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of it I see is because when we're in my, dude, when I was in my early 20s, Jerry Farner owned Farner Asphalt here in Wisconsin. I was like, dude, I want to be Jerry Farner. In the worst way, I want to be Jerry Farner. And I got to meet Jerry Farner and I got to speak with him. And the very first time I met him, this is how awful I am at taking advice. The very first time I met him, we were at a dinner and I was strategically sitting next to him thanks to our seal coat supplier. Because my seal coat supplier wanted me to buy a lot of seal coat, and Jerry Farner bought a lot of seal coat. And Jerry was like, "Hey, ask me a couple questions, do whatever." And he's like, "You make those videos, don't you?" And this was 2018. I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I know you." He's like, "I make videos too." And he showed me some videos, and by this time, he had been bought out for a lot of money, eight
Yeah.
figures,
Yeah.
and he owned a bar and grill up in northern Wisconsin. He was showing me some funny videos that he made and stuff to help kind of promote the business, which was great. But he asked me a question, and I'll never forget this moment. And we were sitting there, and he said, "Are you happy, kid?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, why are you happy?" I was like, "Making more money than I ever made, which wasn't a lot. It was 80K a year, which I thought was, well, holy crap, we're rich."
Yeah.
Um, but we had lived a pretty frugal life up to that point, so I had plenty of money for my lifestyle, and I was kind of getting some notoriety, being free and whatever. And he was like, "That's good." He said, "I'm happy too." I was like, "Oh yeah?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm rich." I was like, "Yeah, I imagine so." And he's like, "And I don't have anything to do." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "There was only two times I was ever happy, when I was you and when I was me right now." For 30 to 40 years, I was miserable. He said, and I made everybody around me miserable. And I built something I couldn't get out of. And it went in one ear and out the other. I just was like, well, that ain't going to be me. I,
Yeah.
I tell you, that ain't going to be me. And he said, you should make a decision. Stay small and stay happy, or go through what I went through and hope somebody has enough money to make you happy at the end. And I just let it go in one ear and out the other and slowly built into that unhappiness that he spoke about. Jerry Farner, I think he's a friend of mine. I think he'll be okay with me speaking about him here, but his path looks really similar to what mine looks like right now. And rather than me stay on that trajectory and say, well, it's too late, I already lost so much, I said, no, I'm not doing that. That doesn't have to be what's written for me. I can choose differently. And last year I just chose differently. And we're just chugging along, doing our thing. Some things remain the same. It rained a lot down here. We've got stress here at Wisco. We're back a month. Numbers don't look as good as they looked the year before. Last year we were top 50 seal coater in the country by Pavement Mag. This year, maybe we hit it. I don't know. But there's a lot of sunshine in some of the parts of the country, and around us there sure isn't. So that's kind of the nutshell grasp of what I've seen and what I noticed. And as always, I'm curious about my industry, and I'm taking knowledge and information that I took in at some point and trying to figure it out. And I'm okay with being at the front as long as whoever is following me or behind me or with me is learning from my mistakes, because I really don't want them to have to go through what I go through. Like, I'm okay with going through it as long as they don't have to go through it. Then it has value to me, if that makes sense.
You don't want someone to be being told a line to rehearse and not being able to say it back.
Dude, it's crazy. Looking back now, like now it's not a big deal. I somehow through, here's another thing I can promise you. And this is coming in all brute honesty. I have no bearing on whether or not therapy works or not. It doesn't profit me in any way. But cognitive behavioral therapy reversed whatever ill effects had went on from the stress and anxiety that had caused something to change within my neurological function in my brain. And I'm still not who I was before that. There's still some stuff sometimes that is crazy. But I was telling you before we got on here that I played piano for Kyle Shone, remembered all the lines. I couldn't remember lines to songs that I had known for years when that went on. So working through with my therapist and getting some stuff back, like thank God. There was just knowing that I was messed up caused stress and anxiety.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So like even me thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna be like this forever, caused me more stress and anxiety. So it was great to have a professional who, I got to give kudos to Dr. Sapp. He put things in blacktop terms, which was thank God he knew something about construction.
Awesome.
Oh yeah. So, but for me to have confidence in him that it would work and it did work, uh, thank the Lord,
Mm.
because I don't know where I would be or how I would be without it. And I always want to be the best for our industry, my family, our friends, and myself now more than anything, just for myself.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious then and maybe you can't even answer it anymore. I don't know. I'm just going to ask the question.
Okay.
What, when you look at future Marvin, future in the mix, future podcast, future, just everything.
Yeah.
Now, what do you see? I remember what you told me years ago, but I imagine it's changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing.
Here's the thing. I knew it was going to be something like this. It was not going to be like, oh, yeah, no problem, Cam. Here's what it looks like now.
I know I give long-winded answers.
No. It's okay. No. I knew it was going to be something.
I'm really trying not to think farther than a year or two ahead.
And why? Why?
Um, Mainly because I don't want to get too heart set on things having to be a certain way or go a certain trajectory. Um, I did that bad before, and I say that bad. I did it really well before, and I think that I was on the right trajectory, but I couldn't undo it once I got there. Uh, so hey, we need a 5-year plan. Write down your 10 years goal. Put a vision board up. What's it going to look like in 5 or 10 years? I think that's healthy. I coach Eli into doing that.
Hmm.
Um, Eli's not, he is like me in a lot of ways, but he also is very different from me in a lot of ways. I believe in him and his capabilities more than I believe in myself and my capabilities.
Hmm.
Just because he's had the knowledge, he's seen it around, he has me in his corner, right? So now I can be like, hey, kid, don't do this, don't do that. Here's what I know. Here, talk to so and so, talk to this person, talk to that person. We're taking advantage of my life. It's not all for loss. Just because BB's gone doesn't mean I didn't get any value from it or I still don't have value. There's still a lot of value that we are gaining from it and still have from it, which is fantastic. Um, so if you ask me what it looks like, um, it looks like Napa, working with Napa for a couple more years. I love them. I love that whole team there. I love what they're about. I love that they're kind of shifting from where they were and where they stood to kind of being open and talking about the next generation and whatnot coming up. I'm really excited to be part of that. Um, I'm really excited to work with some of my former partners, right? More than likely, you're going to catch me at Payvex, and more than likely, it's going to be in some type of partnership capacity, which I'm really excited about. Um, Same thing goes along with World of Asphalt and Con Expo. Uh, I'm just excited to be part of stuff, offer insight, and people get value from that insight. And I come up with some really good ideas as well. Um, and most of the time, people trust me, and they're like, "Yeah, well, yeah, dude, that's gonna work out great. Yeah, it's a good idea. Yes, this is good."
Yeah.
Um, and I have an appreciation for that. But I really am excited about the next couple of years. I'm really excited about in the mix in the podcast, what it's going to look like, what it's going to mean, the value that it has, and not necessarily the value of like how much revenue it makes, which once again, I'm looking at the numbers of the projected revenue for it already,
Yeah.
and we're only doing it for half a year, and I'm like, you boy can't miss. I'm like, here we go. I was like, I got to be really, really careful about this because the old me can be like, whoa, we could, sell 4 more sponsorships and we're going to be here. Or, now that we got this one, we can work with this one. But I really am psyched about who we're working with because there are people within these organizations that listen to me speak about the things we're talking about. And they're like, how can we help? How can we support that? And I believe that there are probably some other partners that I had partnered with before who, when I speak about this, like, we don't want to touch any of that.
Yeah.
We're all right. And I get it. I understand that. But it feels really, really good to be making stuff and making content and talking in a way that I know for a fact is resonating with people and providing value to their lives that they can probably take right now just by knowing that somebody else has been there with you and that there are people and sponsors that want to support that mission and that statement and those things because we do a really good job of glazing over the surface of what our industry is instead of getting actually to what's in the core. And there's a lot of people in here that are pushing themselves very hard and going through a lot, sacrificing a lot for them families and whatnot. And I think if we can just give them some peace and recognition of knowing that they're not alone, that there's a way out, and that there are organizations who can develop strategies to help their people, like actually do this and it will help your people, we're going to see a lot more relief and it's going to make a big change in our industry. And I feel like I've already made a good change in our industry.
Hmm.
I feel like there's a lot more capable between all of us as a community. And if I can be part of that and lead part of that, that would be fantastic for me. That makes me feel really good.
Well said. I think I have one last question. I don't know. I don't know the answer. Why is it called In the Mix?
Because I just feel like that's where we are. We always are. I mean, the mix is a great play on words, of course, right? With asphalt, right? But man, what do you do? What do you do at Laser?
Oh, you're asking me?
See that? That's why I know you're in the mix. Same thing with me. Ask me what I do here.
Yeah. What do you do?
Today I put a spare tire on a seal coat trailer
Yeah.
that had to get fixed. Unloaded crack filler, right? Um, Sent out I think like 30 quotes, which was really good. Well, yeah, they've been stacking up. Like those people aren't happy. They've been waiting a couple weeks. Um, recorded podcast, had a conversation with Impact, talked with Kyla, ran and got some paper plates here for the office because we're out. So, you know, I'm in the mix of everything of what we're doing.
None of that was in the job description. Yeah.
None of that's in the job description. Yeah. So for me, when I talk to our guests, right, who we're having and who we're having on, they're also in the mix. We're all in the mix of this thing, right? And sometimes it's glorious and it's going to be great, and sometimes it's not so glorious. Sometimes you're out there sweating and putting stuff underneath your fingernails and on the back, and that's part of the game. But that's just it. We're in the mix, man, and we all are. And I have a feeling I'm always going to be. I used to glorify. I used to this used to be glorified, and I want to believe that when I say this, you're going to agree with me because we have been. I know I was along first, and you came along shortly after when it come to social media side and being in the asphalt industry and the business and whatnot. But early on, I think I was getting a good dose of it at the same time you were when we connected and became friends. But there's this thing of in order to be a blacktop badass, I'm gonna copyright that term too. Blacktop badass.
Absolutely.
First heard it here, right?
Yep. It's done. Patent. It's good. You're good.
Thanks. In order to be that blacktop badass, you have to get to a certain size where, dude, you're just sitting on your boat out in the Caribbean. The guys are back doing the job. You've got all your system and processes in order. If you go back and touch crack fill or a seal coat, man, that's below you. You ain't supposed to be doing that. You're the man. And I had this thing in my mind of that's what I had to get to in order to be happy and be quote unquote successful. And you want to know when I'm the most happy? The most happy is when Eli and I are trimming out with trim brushes against concrete and music is playing and nothing is being said and all I can hear is and I'm thinking about some wild stuff that just was out of my mind, probably, philosophical. And Eli chimes in with, how come you think donuts have holes in the middle? No, for me, that wouldn't happen if he was working and I was out in the field, or if I was in the office where he was doing this. And there's some days where we're out in the heat and I'm brooming the asphalt and I feel so good. And it feels way better than sitting in here like I did today for 6 hours and sending out quotes. And I don't think I'm ever going to be off the blacktop. I don't think I'm ever going to be off of it. I'll get off of it. Sometimes I don't want to be out there. I'm like, have fun, boys. But sometimes also I want to feel the sweat. I want to feel it. I don't think I'm ever going to be off the blacktop. I just don't. I I don't glorify that because, it's not all that glorious. But also I feel bad for all of the entrepreneurs in the asphalt industry who think that that image of being in the office wearing a suit and tie or a white collar and driving around your truck that has no dust in it or not a scratch on it is the epitome of success. Because I did that and I was miserable, and I know guys that do that are miserable. And if that's true, if that's happiness, then why am I so damn happy on the blacktop?
Cutting against the concrete, listening to the swoosh.
Yeah, yeah. If that's true, so this is just my experience. It can't be true if it doesn't feel true. Right. So then what's successful and what's happiness? We have a great little business here that produces more than what we need and allows me to be out on the blacktop and not worry too much. Why would I try to make it into something that takes that away from me? I have no idea. I have no idea why I would think that was a good idea, but I sure as hell did. Same thing with BB. I thought it would be great for us to own a media company that was massive, that did all these things, and it totally could have. The stuff that was on our vision board was within reach. But what type of person would I have had to become, and what things would I have to do in order to accomplish those things? I think I know. I think I know if I look deep inside and I'm honest with myself. I think I know. And that's just not something I'm willing to compromise with. What good is it for me to gain the whole world and lose my soul? I'm not going to do it, man. And what you liked about me when I spoke to you on that couch, when you were on the couch and we had that conversation, I like that about me too. And a lot of people had conversations with me like that. I think that's what people like about me. And in order for me to chase, I would lose that if I was to chase some of the things that other people see as successful.
I mean, for what it's worth, uh, I get I get pitched some stuff sometimes from people of ideas and partnerships and stuff. And now that I'm slowly getting a little bit more wiser. But when I was listening to the pitch, which it wasn't a pitch, Marvin, but when I was on the couch that winter and you're telling me about it, like I wasn't married to the idea. It was the person driving it. I was like, I see it. Yeah, I see it. So just because that's changed doesn't make me think anything different of you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I think um here's the thing. I don't think I could have done it without everybody who jumped on and supported and came on because a lot of people did a lot of things for not any money or for no money or at a cost to them. And I needed that in order to make that happen. The main part of it is I just didn't want to do it alone.
Yeah.
Like why would I don't want any glory and I would much rather I I would get so hyped when I would see somebody who was in our group be in an article or start a podcast or speak somewhere, right? Or even now, like not a lot of people know this, but like we still got our group together and we just stay low key and chat and do our things and goof around and whatnot a little bit. But one of our guys, one of our people, was in an article recently, and I got so hyped, dude. I was like, yes, this is what we do, right? We are important. We should do things that make us feel important because we are important. Are we more important than anybody else? No, we're not. Like the guy that is out shoveling blacktop right now in Indiana on that interstate that I drove by,
Mhm.
I am no more important than he is. But dude, I do have an obligation if I'm going to make content to make sure that it's something that he's proud of and he wants to listen to and share, right? And that I point him out. Um, and that's what I want to do. I want that guy to be like, okay, maybe I should reset a little bit here and think about what I need to do because I got some kiddos at home too. Um, that's what's most important to me. Like I just want us all to live better lives and be happy because I want to be happy too.
Well, this is worth basically. I'm going to get kicked out of the studio here shortly. This is worth getting kicked out for. You've gained yeah, you've gained this perspective, and you've got a look on your face that I never saw 2 years ago. Put it that way. So yeah. It's not just that cool backdrop either.
No, no, but it helps.
Hmm. Well, how do I end this?
You can listen to In the Mix on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube anywhere. If you type In the Mix anywhere on Instagram, you'll find us there. If you type Marvin Joles in
Yeah,
any
yeah, yeah.
social media platform, you're
Yeah,
gonna find me there too. And you can always DM me. Anybody can always DM
I
me
believe
and
that.
email
Yep.
me. I never do not get back to somebody. I will get back to you. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, if you want to reach out, and one thing I will say,
Mhm.
we we talk a lot and we hear a lot about mental health in the asphalt industry now, and there's awareness is one thing, and we've had some great people help create awareness, myself included. But within the last 4 or 5 months, I started getting this feeling of like, okay, now we're aware. What do we do? Right? As organizations, what do we do? And Ajax Paving, Dr. Vince Hayfully and Ajax Paving have a strategy. They have something you can implement in your business, no matter the size, that really does help. And other programs like Duran Paving and some of these other companies have put in place with great success to really help eliminate the awkward feeling of talking about what's going on. They've done a great job. So if you would love to reach out to me about that, I'll get you in touch with them and we can talk about that. If you want to fill out the survey to help out our industry, DM me and I'll get you the survey and you can help Fairfield University with this study that helps us create a foundation of something we can work from to help change this thing that's going on in our industry.
Ooh, that sounds cool. Okay, legit. I'm gonna be kicked out. You send that to me. Send me the link, like on DM, and then I'll make sure Matt gets it so that he can post it, and we'll put it in there.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate you having me, my friend. It feels great to be back.
Woo! Pleasure's mine, brother. Talk soon. Your spreadsheets and your systems for your business suck, and you might be losing a ton of money in your paving or your pavement maintenance business. Look, our company recently switched to One Crew, and it is the only industry-specific, all-in-one platform for paving companies, for pavement maintenance companies, striping companies. It doesn't matter if it's like the sales cycle or if you're estimating or even if you're trying to manage your crew, One Crew has features for all of that. It is unbelievably effective. So if right now you're doing a lot of your estimating on spreadsheets and at the end of the day or the end of the year, you don't even know if you're making a lot of money, I guarantee you One Crew will help you. It is so easy to make more money with this software. You'll love it. Here's the best part. Listeners of this show get $500 off of the setup fee if you go to getonecrew.com/stripeit. $500 off of your setup fee. Take a free demo and have a look for yourself, man. Getonecrew.com/stripeit.